The Weekend UpNate.
The Weekend UpNate.
Your weekly recap of news, current events, and trending stories. Let's do this. The Weekend UpNate with your host, Nate Armbruster.
All right, hello and welcome to another edition of Weekend UpNate. And yes, I'm late again. However, this is turning it. I feel like this is turning into a bit that I didn't plan on turning into a bit. You know what I mean? So this week, I actually, when I say I have a real excuse, I had a real excuse, and that was our car got stolen. Okay, and so I spent the whole week, figuring that out. And we were out of town when it got stolen, so I didn't have my recording equipment with me. Usually I travel with it if I know I'm going to be gone, and that's how this week's lateness happened, okay? So I'm going to need you to give me a break on this one, because I actually had a real reason. Now, this was a hell of an experience. I hope no one else ever has to go through this. I mean, it's just annoying. And this is what I learned about, your car being stolen, because first of all, I never keep anything important in my car for that reason alone, because I park it on the street in Chicago. And I don't know if you remember this, but last year about this time, I left my car window down for 3 days, 3 whole days, and no one touched my car. So that tells you how either A, my car is an awful car and nobody wants it, or maybe I just got lucky. But you can't tell me that somebody didn't walk by my car thinking, we could really ruin someone's week right now. He just left the window down. It was simultaneously walking up to the car. I'm like, oh no, my car was broken into. But I didn't see any glass on the floor or on the ground. And I realized I'm just an idiot who left his window down. Anyway, so this is the first time this has ever happened to me. So it's like and hopefully it's the only time, but I don't know if you guys heard about this. Remember this TikTok trend? I think it's still even a thing. It clearly is, but it was called the Kia Boys, right? Where, it was discovered that you can hotwire a Kia and Hyundais, most of them, I think like pretty much any one of them made before the year 2021 or whatever. You can hotwire them with just a USB cord. Now, you have to break the whole thing off in order to get in there, but you can do it in like 30 seconds. You can see videos online of how to do it. And if you're someone that does it, don't do it. It's pretty awful. Because this is the thing, is it started as a TikTok trend, and kids as young as 14 would just steal a car, and they would literally just drive it around to trash it. Like, I can understand why someone would steal a car, right? Like, it could make sense in some scenarios. Like, sure, like you in your head, you're just kind of like, oh, they stole it to sell it off for parts or something, right? That's my initial judgment. But we were driving a Kia, and of course, the first thing I thought of was, yep, somebody, the Kia Boys got us, is what I'm saying. And the manager of the place we were at had it all on footage. It's crazy. These kids roll up in 3 other stolen Kias. I mean, they have to be stolen, right? And then they hop out, and they take our car with less than 30 seconds. Gone in 30 seconds would be the movie, the movie of our week, pretty much. And you know what is frustrating is, like, it was kind of impressive. I'm like, wow, these kids were quick, Imagine if they, put that effort toward something like, I don't know, a job. And this is where I start to sound like, an old grumpy old guy, like, why don't you kids get a job? Because that's it. They stole it because they found it 2 days later, right? Just abandoned or wherever. And it was trashed. They totaled it. And you're just like, all this for what? Just to drive around and get some funny TikTok clips out of it? Oh, it's so annoying. And of course, this whole time I'm like, oh no, my dearest podcast listeners are going to be so mad at me for being late. It was a weird thing, though, because I don't know if any of you have ever had your car stolen, but it's just like every other time you thought you remember where you parked, Like, you walk out pretty much to the spot that you were parked in, and you notice it's gone, and you're like, wait, were we? And then you just start doing the whole look around thing, where you're just looking around the parking lot, just kind of dumbfounded. Like, wait, no, we parked here, right? Yeah, no, this is where we parked. And then you hit the key fob trying to, make it go off, and nope. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then we noticed the glass, and those damn Kia boys got us. So, we got to call the cops for the insurance and all that. And the cop shows up, and man, I don't know. They have, it's a hard job. We could all admit that. It's probably stressful, annoying, hard, because it's not always like it is in the movies. You would think it's like fun detective crazy stories, but no, it's a lot of times it's shit like this where you just got to show up where the guy's car was stolen and just give them a police report. Like, that's it. In a lot of cases, which I guess is good. It's best case scenario for a cop to go to work one day and be like, man, I really hope it's just, police reports so I don't have to get out of my car. He didn't even get out of the car, which, it's not that he had to. I was just surprised because I'm just observing this whole thing unfold, right? You call the police, which is funny because you're like, oh, can I call the cops for this? I mean, it's a stolen car. It's pretty, it's a big deal, right? That's grand theft. You can call 911 because this is how few times I've had to call 911 in my life, Cop rolls up, doesn't even get out of the car, doesn't look interested at all in helping us either. And we're not upset. I mean, we're upset in that, oh no, we got to figure out how to get home. Also get home, like not just where we were staying, but also back home. We're like 6 hours away. So the cop's like just not enthused, and I guess he shouldn't be. I just think about it, it's like, is this a customer service thing with a cop where it's like, yeah, man, you could be a little more I mean, this isn't, we're not in danger, we can have a little bit of fun in this guy. Is it fun? I don't even know. A lighthearted conversation, right? So the cop's like, asking us the questions he's got to ask, but some of them are dumb, like, did you know the people that took it? What? You think we know who took it? If we knew who took it, I don't think I'd call you, I would have called them. But you got to ask these dumb questions. And then he's, asking us. And this is where I try to break the tension a little bit because we're a little annoyed at this whole situation. It's kind of, and the cop's just being a cop. And, I try to crack a couple jokes and he wasn't having it, which I think is funny because I'm like, we're the victims in this case here, and if we're trying to be in a lighthearted mood, maybe we can have a nice conversation. So he goes, yeah, is there anything important in the car? And which we had nothing in there, right? Which thankfully, but I was like, oh yeah, we had a couple Rolexes, and and he just kind of looked at me like the way like your dad would look at you when you said something stupid as a kid or whatever, where he's just kind of like almost rolling his eyes, like you can't be serious. And I was like, no, I'm obviously joking, And he's like, it was weird. So that was my weekend/week, right? That was a week ago. Okay, we're not even talking about April 1st, So this was our week, and we're finally back in business. We already replaced the car, so we're golden. So thanks for your understanding with the late ep. Okay. All right, now cut to this weekend. What we got April Fool's Day, which, in my opinion, and this is what I hate about April Fool's Day is, I'm a comedian. I did a show on April Fool's Day, and people like to be like, oh, it's probably your favorite holiday. And it's not. It's not. First of all, it's barely a holiday. And second, it's kind of annoying because there's no pranks. There's no good pranks anymore. Or I should say there are few good pranks. It seems like the only April Fool's Day pranks I've seen this year have been like awful marketing, like social media things, something stupid like McDonald's being like, we're bringing back the McRib year round. And then they're like, April Fool's, or whatever. But it got me thinking, like, back in the day, I feel like kids used to be good at pranks, like, at school or whatever. And in my school, we never really had anything crazy happen, but I remember, people's houses getting egged and toilet papered and stuff like that. And I always thought it was kind of stupid to do that because I could never waste the eggs. That's just me being like, I can't throw this away. This is like a week's worth of breakfast right here. You know, you want me to throw these at some guy's house? I can never wrap my head around it. And I never really thought it was that funny either, because I always saw it from the adult's perspective, which is funny. Because I'm like, man, I mean, I know I hate their kid too, but I don't want to, like, you know, make them have to clean their windows, you know? Like, I don't think that's really a prank. I think that's like that and toilet papering, although it's the, you know, probably best case scenario when you could do something awful to somebody's house. But I think, you know, that's more vandalism in my head, right? Like, oh my God, if a kid egged my house now, I'd be furious. Like, I'll just never understand. Because, like, I don't think that is much of a prank, because you don't get to see their reaction of the person you're pranking, right? Like, you know, I'll come out the next morning, be like, what the hell's all over the window? I might not even notice, to be honest with you. Like, I'd probably go a few weeks before I notice, you know, I'd be like, what's that smell? And then I'd go outside and be like, oh, I think that would even be funnier to, like, you know, prank the prankers by just leaving the toilet paper in the tree and, you know, just not even bothering with it, or, you know, leaving the egg yolk all over the window. Just say, yeah, we live like this now, you know, because then it's not as cool to egg them ever again, right? Okay, so really the main reason I'm recording this episode today is, do you guys ever hear about, like, companies who are trying to bring back extinct animals? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, revive, like, the woolly mammoth and shit like that, or like, we have the technology now to at least come close to doing that, and that blows my mind. Okay, I can't believe. First of all, I don't think we need to. How about we stop messing with everything? Okay, I mean, I'm sure in some cases it might make sense to reintroduce some animals into nature, but, you know, maybe leave the dinosaurs alone. You know what I'm saying? We don't need a T-Rex running around here with all the other shit we got to deal with, okay? I just think it's going to get out of hand. This is kind of like the whole AI thing, where it's like, you know what? Let's not push it with this. This is the whole thing with AI, where I'm like, okay, clearly at one point everything is going to be, we're going to be answering to the computers, right? Humanity is just going to have to answer to technology, right? It's going to run the world at some point. Now, hopefully not in our lifetimes, but although it sounds like it makes sense, but it's just nuts to me, because we all complain about it coming. We're all like, man, it's going to take. Now, this is what's really going to take your jobs, by the way. I don't know, the people who get all weird about immigrants and stuff. I have bad news for them, because I think that the AI is we're not even going to need immigrants to do the jobs we don't want to anymore because of this AI shit, you know? But I think it's nuts, because humans are the ones creating the AI. Like, eventually it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of just, here you go, take over, man. Like, why? You would think if you're smart enough to develop technology like this, you would know that, you know, at some point it's also going to put you out of work, and you're one of the smart ones. Anyway, this is what I went down a wormhole this weekend after this company made, so they officially, well, I'll just read the shit, okay? So I wanted to talk about a real interesting meatball that was recently unveiled by an Australian company, but it wasn't just any old meatball, all right? It was made of lab-grown, cultured meat using the genetic sequence of a long-extinct animal, the mammoth. A mammoth meatball, man. You know, this is what, so, you know, they're trying to figure out ways to grow, meat in a lab, like chicken, steak, and all that stuff, which I guess in some ways will help, but what are we fucking with the mammoth for, okay? First of all, I don't know if I would have wanted to eat one anyway, but now it's like, this is what we're spending time on. So Vow, an Australian startup, presented this jumbo meatball at an Amsterdam science museum to spark a public conversation about the future of food. The meatball was made by filling in missing parts of the mammoth's genetic sequence with that of its closest living relative, the African elephant, and then inserting it into a sheep cell. God, see, all the science shit. It's kind of fascinating, really, but it makes you wonder, like, somebody really was like, you know, I'm curious about what a mammoth would taste like. And with the right conditions in the lab, the cells multiplied until there were enough to make the meatball. So don't expect to see this mammoth meatball on the plate anytime soon, as it's a one-off and it won't be put into commercial production. Thank God. I wish there was a way to poll people on like who would actually try. Like if this shit was just at the store, right? You're at Costco, someone's giving out samples, and you turn the corner and they're like, "Oh, what are we sampling today? The mammoth meatball." Would you try it? Because I don't know. I'd be like, "Wait, this is really a mammoth? This is like," and I wonder if it tastes the same as it would have back then. You know, they obviously didn't have things like barbecue sauce and you know, shit to dip it in, right? They didn't have crock pots back then. I don't know, were they even cooking with heat yet? But so now Vow's planning to sell its first cultivated meat product, a Japanese quail meat, in Singapore later this year. And that's because Singapore is currently the only country to have approved cell-based meat for consumption. I feel like the United States is going to be last for this, even though we already famously love to put stuff in our food that's not good for us. It's funny that this is where we'll draw the line. Some of the stuff we eat already, you know, I mean, the amount of chemicals in our food. And then we're like, you know what? Let's hold off on this fake meat. Like, honestly, at this point, doesn't matter. So this mammoth project is a bit of an outlier in the meat cultivation. You don't say. You know, not everyone's trying to eat some mammoth, which typically focus on traditional livestock like cows, pigs, and chickens, you know, stuff that people eat. But if this technology is widely adopted, it could make a huge impact on the environment by significantly reducing the global meat production's environmental footprint. So I guess that's the one positive to all this. But I don't know if I want to try lab-grown meat, man. I'm a little hesitant, even though I guess if chemically, biologically, it's the same product. Is it that much worse than eating the meat that's pumped with all the, you know, vaccines and stuff, like, or whatever they feed it? I don't know, I feel like factory farming, the way that we do things now, I don't know if it's that much healthier. That's all. You know what I'm trying to say? And you can see a picture of this thing too online if you're that curious about it, or if you're still listening. So I'm going to cut it off there for the week. And, you know, later this week, I'm going to do a little bonus episode since I'm one behind now. Yeah, because that's how good of a podcast host I am. So look out for that one later this week. And if you haven't checked out the special yet, it's still cooking, baby. We're at like 41,000 views, which I'll take it for some nobody unknown comedian. I think that's pretty good numbers, right? So, yeah, go check that out. Listen to my album. Join my email list. I would love to let you know next time I'm coming to your town. And we'll see you next week for another brand new episode of Weekend UpNate.
You've been listening to the Weekend UpNate with Nate Armbruster, and you liked it, didn't you? If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Weekend UpNate.
Bye-bye.